Hello, 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 my friends. Happy Sunday afternoon, evening, and happy day wherever you are in the world. I know I announced that I was going to go live at 1 p.m. EST today, but I actually woke up realizing that I lost my voice and I had to get it to the place of where I can actually speak. So as you can see, I have my cup of tea with me. So my apologies for a scratchy voice. But something that I wanted to talk to you about today is the power of a choice. And I am making the choice to still show up because this is important to me. And, choice is something that truly is very powerful for us. And we oftentimes don't even realize how powerful it is, because we create our reality by making little choices, medium choices, and big choices every day. And sometimes the choices that we make consistently over time, they turn into our habits. And then with time, these habits turn into our character. And with time, our character sort of determines our reality. And I had to learn that early on in my life because of the difficult path that I've gone through. And I felt that maybe the power of choice, especially now in the world where we live in today, with all the turmoils going on, we have to know what we stand for. And we have to know what is important to us, what our values are. And we have to get together with people who truly share similar values and create that supportive community where you feel like you belong and be a part of that. And so the story that I wanted to share with you today actually leads to the conscious leadership method that I created and developed and have been developing and developing more and more. And how it came about is actually really interesting, because sometimes when you look at your life in the hindsight, when you turn back, all of a sudden, all these little experiences and the big ones, they kind of fall into place in your mind, and you understand like, oh, so that's why I needed that experience. And this is how this experience complements that. And so basically, someone actually asked me recently, so what do you say to all your clients? Is there like one phrase, one thing? And I actually added it into my previous video. If you guys haven't seen it, check it out. And I said that become the conscious leader of your life. But what does that really mean? So now this has been my life journey to share this with you as I've been developing this method. Interestingly, I had to learn how to become the conscious leader for my life, myself. And I know it's truly powerful. So backtracking to my childhood, I really had a wonderful, wonderful childhood. I couldn't really ask for more. Really happy family, lots of vacations, summers, and friends. And then when 90s came, and when I say the word 90s, anyone who comes from the USSR already understands the dynamic of what I'm going to talk about. But if you're not from the former USSR, something that happened in the 90s is like the dissolution of USSR, the Great Depression economically, the stagnation. People were very poor. There was food scarcity and job insecurity. And so this was around the time when my life sort of decided to like crack at the seam, like completely open on all levels. And interestingly, so the country fell apart, the economy fell apart. My parents got laid off, so my mom lost her job. My father lost his business. There was like food coupons to get so many coupons per person, per family, per week. So food was rationed because there was no food in the stores. And then on top of that, my parents decided that they wanted to get a divorce. And so I also witnessed domestic abuse, where I actually protected my mom from my dad. And I was standing between them. I was 12. I remember this really well, telling him like that, this is not who you are. You shouldn't be doing this. Like, stop it. And so from that, I actually developed post-traumatic stress disorder, depression, but no one really cured or worked on that aside from the crazy house or like who goes to the shrink mentality. And interestingly, any of the, professionals, leaders, and just people around the world that have been talking about actually mentioned that they experienced the same thing, that around the 90s, there was this kind of like negative stigma about going to psychologists, and psychologists were not readily available back then at all. And so just to give you an idea how deep my depression became, I actually, in the 9th grade, I had to take a tram to go to the university, to go to school in the 9th grade. And so I couldn't really go in. It was too overwhelming for me to actually go inside, talk to teachers, talk to students. And I would sit outside on the bench in the houses nearby. And I just sat there for hours and stared into nothingness. And I couldn't really feel anything. I felt completely numb. And so, I mean, this was something that I had to go through. But sometimes when you go through something difficult like that, life always gives you tremendous support. And that was around the time when I met my sensei, my teacher, Pavel Leonidovich Larionov. He and his wife are both psychologists, and they founded the Headwind School of Psychology, Martial Arts, and Meditation, where 3 times a week, they trained Wing Chun martial arts style practices. And then on Sundays, there was actually the Sunday school where we learned a lot of psychological practices, meditation, focus exercises, exercises to help you stabilize your internal state of mind, to process your emotions. So really a lot of practical psychology mixed with meditative practices, mixed with energetic practices. And I was exposed to that since I was about 16. And it's truly amazing that I met my teacher right before the accident that happened to me. And I've been part of the school and doing all these practices and practicing that and getting to a higher level of, consciousness of the best person I could be my entire life. My sensei passed away about 8 years ago, but his wife Irina is continuing his work in Krasnodar, Russia, where I'm originally from. And so if you guys have any questions or want to pop in and have a conversation with me, please feel free to. I would love to. But so in the 11th grade already, it was a really tough year for me because there was the graduation and you know how the educational system changed. Before you didn't have this like one exam you had to pass. You actually had to prepare for every single class and finish all the exams for every single class in the high school. And then I was really lucky, but I worked like super, super hard to get the full scholarship to the Kuban State University. Only it means that I had to pass 5 compulsory exams and 3 of which were oral exams. When I tell this story to my American friends and colleagues, they wouldn't believe me because that doesn't exist in America anymore. But yes, a compulsory oral exam is where you draw a ticket with 2 or 3 questions. You have half an hour to write them out to prepare, and then you have to report back in front of a committee. That sounds pretty tense. On one of them, I actually forgot what my name was, and then I forgot what grade I got. I had to go back and ask them again. But that was just around the time when things got escalated and the depression really took the hold of me. Only no matter how hard I tried to work with this, I had a lot of energy, didn't know where to put it, and things got really worse. And so one day, my girlfriends and I had a really wonderful time out with friends, but I had a bad drink. And by the time I got home, I really didn't feel good. And so I had the incident where I argued with my family, basically, of them not letting me go out with my boyfriend because I didn't feel good. And out of all of the emotions that were brewing inside me, like all these years that I couldn't let them out, I didn't know how. I actually told them, okay, you guys are not letting me in through the door. I'm gonna go through the window. I stopped on the windowsill and I jumped out the window. Luckily, it was only the second floor, but I did break my back and I ended up in the hospital. They put in I had the operation. They put in 2 metal rods. They screwed it in. I wasn't allowed to sit for half a year. Well, I spent the entire month in the hospital to begin with. But then I wasn't allowed to sit for half a year. I had to wear a really thick corset around my body that prevented me from bending forward, like the whole 9 yards. And so, interestingly, I feel like this is when my path as the conscious leader began. And I do remember how my teacher, Pavel Leonidovich, actually said this phrase to me. He said, Tanya, you realize you need to become the conscious leader of your life. He actually said the leader of your life. And I'm like, yes, what does that mean? And I had no idea what he was talking about back at 16, 17 that I was. I knew it meant something important. But I spent my entire life finding out what that truly means, and now we have come full circle. And so the interesting part of this entire journey, that while I was lying on my stomach, on the hospital bed, and my teacher came to me, he actually gave me a lot of exercises that helped me to visualize the way I wanted my back to be, the way I wanted my life to be. And because I had a lot of time, a lot of free time, basically, lying there in the hospital, I took my time to truly focus on the way I wanted my back to look, because I figured I'll have the scar there anyway after the operation, but the way I wanted the scar to look, the way I wanted to feel after I'm out of the hospital, how strong I want to be. And I was working on that very hard. And I was working on visualizing my life after this. And amazingly, it all worked out. It all came through. And I healed my back to the point that when I immigrated to the United States, I actually became a dancer. And I danced for 10 years, West Coast swing dance. And I got to the all-star level, where the next level is the champions. And but I had a choice to make. And the choice was to, what do I do next? Well, imagine yourself, you're lying on this, and you just got back from the hospital, you're lying on this makeshift bed of, there used to be couches that would extend one side and the other side. And so imagine that one side is extended, you're lying on this makeshift bed of a couch, a door, like a wooden door, right? And then a mattress, because I was supposed to lie on something hard so that my back would heal well. And so you're trying to eat your soup. So it's your bowl of soup, and then your dog's head on the other side, giving you the puppy dog's eyes as you're trying to eat. I actually do have a picture somewhere. I'll have to pull that up to show you guys. But yes, and lying there for some time while I was still getting better at walking, I asked myself, what am I going to do? Am I going to take the academic year off since I was a freshman? Or am I going to, go back to study, given that I would need to stand at lectures? And what do you think I did? Yeah. So I listened to myself, and I said, if I have to listen to this the entire year, I'm going to go crazy. So instead of that, I actually decided to go to study. And my mom, at first, because it was winter, it was like November, December months, January, she would help me get to the university, taking the tramway and then walking there because it was slippery. And then I started sort of like, once I felt more confident, it was just me doing that myself. But it was really interesting that I stood during lectures at all my classes. And it's funny because professors would say like, oh, you can sit down there. And I would be at the back row, basically saying to them like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm actually not allowed to sit. Like, I can't. And so this was the choice I made. And funny enough, I actually ended up getting better grades than some of my girlfriends who were partying the entire semester, their freshman year. But what does that mean? Like, I graduated on time. I moved to the United States. I've graduated from Dartmouth College with a master's degree in globalization, international relations. I taught leadership and ran leadership development programs at the Rockefeller Center, Dartmouth College at Dartmouth. Then I was a part of the Harvard Kennedy School of Government, where I worked with really stellar professors supporting their leadership development and courses and programs. And now I am in a place where I am running my own company, Monada Coaching Consulting. I offer leadership development training to companies, colleges, organizations, universities all over the world, because I find that leadership is truly, truly, truly important. And not only in the place of being a part of the organization or leading an organization, but for ourselves. Because no community, no company, no college, no organization can be better if every single person in it becomes better. And it all starts within us. And if we want this world to be better, we need to become better. Because the spiritual formula is basically, I change and the world around me changes that way. And so I haven't shared this story publicly. This is the first time I'm sharing this story. And I hope that it will inspire you and resonate with you. And also understand that sometimes things seem so big and so sort of grand in the scheme of things because there is a lot of emotion attached to that. But once we're able to sort of elevate ourselves to the next level and look at this from a perspective of an observer, from a bird's eye view, we kind of come to understand that, well, maybe it's not such a big deal. And maybe there is a way to find a compromise or find a solution. So I invite you to challenge yourself today to start making the choices that empower you, that bring you to a higher level of who you truly are, that allow for you to dream big, and that welcome that new abundance and possibility sort of mentality and energy into your life. So this is my story. You are amazing. Please remember that there is nothing that you can't do. You just have to believe in yourself, empower yourself. And of course, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, let's go together. I love you guys. Have a wonderful evening and a great week ahead. And if you have any questions, please reach out. Talk to you soon.